Welcome to Vintage Video. I'm David Mossner. This time we empty the second South Dakota Grab Bag with an even more eclectic collection of stories. You will see Sitting Bull, learn about chilly Mobridge style, see how a nearly empty town spruced itself up, and see a political tiff play out in the South Dakota Senate. First we head back to the Rosebud Reservation, where a group of 22 Chinese guests came to the United States hoping to learn more about America.
The touring Chinese stopped to sample Indian culture as part of their tour across the United States. The caravan left Florida almost a month ago and is seeing the real America.
I met so many friendly people wherever we went, and we visit the farms and visit the homes and the ranch. Everywhere we'll be met by the very friendly American people.
The 22 Chinese are traveling with 12 American couples on the tour, and at this stop it was time for pictures and shopping, then dancing in a traditional Lakota round dance.
China has 57 minorities who live in isolated areas in their country, and I wanted them to see a minority in our country.
For the Rosebud, this stop is a chance to represent all American Indians.
We are retaining our cultures, our traditions. We're hanging on to them viciously because of assimilation and other things that are happening in other areas of Indian country, but here we're trying to hang on to them.
After the dance, the tour is spending the weekend in Rapid City before going back to China. Dave Mossner, Kelloland News, Rosebud.
It's always nice to focus on student accomplishments on the evening news. With only 1,500 students accepted to the Waring School of Music out of thousands who apply, we featured a South Dakota student who made the cut.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by, when hope was high and life worth living.
Qualifying for the Waring School is a dream for thousands of promising musicians. 85 South Dakota students tried out. Lowell Gordon and Todd Fuhrer of Clear Lake made it. Amanda Keltz of Rapid City is an alternate.
I dreamed that God would be forgiving. Then I was young and unafraid.
I want to sing and perform, but as I said, in this point in my life, I really don't know what it is I will be doing.
Down life's road makes me.
The Waring School is free to the 1,500 students who pass the auditions. The 2-week camp in late July is rigorous with 13 hours of practice each day. But Gordon says it's worth it.
I learned a lot last year, and there's so much now that I see that I should have done or could have done but didn't because I didn't have the experience.
And I see the road finally ends.
The workshop wraps up with 2 concerts and a scheduled TV performance in September. Dave Mossner, Kelloland News, Pierre.
The tiny community of Orient, South Dakota had only 67 residents as it prepared to celebrate the state centennial. Its glory days were in the early years of statehood as it bustled with railroad traffic. For a weekend, Orient partied like it was 1889.
It's not quite a trip back in time, but Orient is remembering its early days during its Centennial Fest. Most of the women are wearing bonnets. A lot of Orient's men are sporting beards.
I haven't had a beard for 7 years, 8 years, but I started when? In January?
Orient's population is 67, but organizers say nearly 8,000 call Orient home. Most of them are expected back sometime during the celebration. Those returning are some of the sons and daughters that left when Orient was much bigger.
At one time, we were a community of about 350. And I guess the times have changed. This was more or less of a railroad center at one time. It was the end of the railroad.
Like most celebrations, there's dunking and buying the once-in-a-lifetime souvenir. But dressing like they used to caught the imagination of young and old. For a brother and sister back from Chicago, going all out is the only way.
They used to call the time period the Gibson girl, so this is an authentic Gibson girl outfit. And just as with the gentleman, this is the traditional dress, mainly not for someone, it's mainly for the townspeople or the city folk.
Orient's party continues tomorrow. Dave Mossner, Kelloland News, Orient.
The community of Belvedere was another town looking for an inventive way to celebrate the state's 100th birthday and decided to paint the town.
Downtown Belvedere looks pretty good with a cafe, shoe store, and hat shop. But the storefronts are merely memories of a bigger, bustling town.
Sort of revive a little of the history of Belvedere from the beginning and put on the front maybe names that would show what had been in there at one time or another.
Looking in the window of the garage in Smithy, there's a horseshoe on the fire. At the Red Mill Cafe, the chili looks good, but the Denver omelet's gone up in price. Across the street, there's a line at the barber shop. It's been 20 years since Main Street looked this good. The town's centennial project to spruce up the old buildings is also sprucing up morale.
Looks great. It's really an improvement over what it used to be. It's neat now where it didn't look neat before. They're just kind of a run-down old bunch of shacks.
There's a church, and next door, a den of sin.
It was a poker playing parlor. Some of the people in the community kind of shook their heads and said, you know, it's a dirty shame.
The 80 townspeople hope the stores lure travelers off the interstate to look, but sorry, nothing's for sale behind the paint. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Belvedere.
While cities worked hard in the years leading up to the centennial to bring people back to the state, there was also an opportunity to buy a piece of it to take home.
Only 1989, I can own a piece of South Dakota Centennial Heritage. I'm going to the land office.
For the centennial year price of $19.89, you get the deed to 1 square foot of South Dakota's Centennial Acre, north of Pierre, near the center of the state marker. So far, there's been quite a few buyers at the land office, better known as the real estate agency.
They give gifts to their family if they have family out of state, and they want to make sure they keep 1 foot in South Dakota.
The realtor selling the most 1 foot squares gets a prize, and the county with the most landowners gets back some cash in the Centennial's prime fundraiser.
The profits from this will go to fund a lot of our statewide projects that are very important, and a portion of the purchase will also go back to the local communities for their lasting legacy projects.
Buyers from Minnehaha and Hughes County have most of the land overlooking the Missouri so far, but there's still room for 40,000 more. There are some restrictions to owning a piece of the Centennial Acre. You can't put up a fence, you can't plant flowers, but on the other hand, you won't have to pay any property tax on it. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Pierre.
Each city in the state created a legacy as part of their centennial observance, funded in part by revenue from selling pieces of the Centennial Acre. In Pierre, they decided to build an interactive museum where kids could learn by doing.
It's called Hands-On, explaining principles of science to all ages by letting individuals make their own scientific discoveries.
Everything in there is going to be interactive. You know, whoever comes in is going to do things, push it or pull it or move it somehow.
Pfeiffer says it'll be the first hands-on science center in the state and will offer classes in addition to exhibits. A sneak preview has demonstrated interest in learning science directly. Even donating to the center has turned into an experiment. Much of the projects and material are donated to the center, and South Dakota State University students are working on other attractions to be part of Pierre's Centennial Lasting Legacy.
The building was constructed, I believe, in 1936. Because of its architectural importance and because of its location, it's always been a project that someone felt needed undertaken, and the Lasting Legacy project seemed to be the fitting way to do that.
Also planned for this building is an aquarium to feature Missouri River wildlife. That will be open sometime later. The Discovery Center is scheduled to open July 4th. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Pierre.
Belvedere and Orient are small, but seem like a metropolis compared to Cottonwood in West River, South Dakota, that was home to only 4 families at the time of this story.
There are a lot of used-to-bes in Cottonwood. Holes that used to hold flags blowing in the wind. Doors that used to be opened by more than just prairie breezes. Churches that used to be busy on Sunday mornings. Cottonwood used to be a town of more than 400. That day is long gone and probably gone forever. It is home, though, described as quiet, nice, and friendly.
There are actually 4 families living in town right now. One family has one child under voting age, the other family has 2 children under voting age.
The mayor says actually 10 or 11 people live in the town. At Cottonwood's only business, Joanne's Trading Post, a variety of products are on sale, from earrings to ice skates. During the summer, tourists keep the place bustling. In the off-season, the wood stove fights the chill.
I enjoy the people out here. I enjoy the security.
The pigeons might outnumber Cottonwood's residents, but ranching families are included as part of the community, where the biggest problem for City Council is keeping windows in City Hall. But just the same, Cottonwood is doing very nicely, thank you, and plans to stay on South Dakota's map for a long time to come. Dave Mossner, Kelloland News, Cottonwood.
The Native American College on the Rosebud Reservation, Sinta-Galeshka College, offered the opportunity for anyone to learn more about the Lakota Way and for members of the tribe to share their traditions.
Collecting sage and firewood for a sweat lodge ceremony is homework and part of the Lakota life these students are living during the Lakota Summer Institute that's attracted students from around the world.
Want to learn about the traditional ways, and I think we need that.
I've been honored to take part in a number of events with Native American peoples, and the Sioux or Lakota tradition is what I follow, so I wanted to come and do a formal study to see whether or not I wanted to obtain a degree in Native American Studies.
These people need to know the truth about us, just the realities of who we are, what we are, how we manage to carry on the traditions, that our songs are still alive, our dances are still alive, our rituals are still alive.
I have a little bit of Indian heritage in my blood, and I've always been interested in them and didn't know anything about them.
Sinta-Galeshka College started the Lakota Institute 3 years ago. It's grown from 7 students then to 35 participants this year. It's not all fun. Students have papers to write and tests to take, and the instructors hope the students take what they've learned back with them when they leave the reservation. Dave Mossner, Kelloland News, St. Francis.
The children of the sculptor responsible for beginning the famous Crazy Horse Monument in the Black Hills were enlisted to restore an earlier work of their father's standing on a hill outside Mobridge, South Dakota.
Korchak-Chulkovsky's statue of Sitting Bull overlooking the Missouri River has been damaged by vandals in the passage of time. But those imperfections are being fixed so a mold can be made to preserve the image of Sitting Bull's statue.
Once we get the mold made, we'll take it back to Crazy Horse. We don't know when we'll have the bronze done, but we'll have the mold, and that's a good insurance policy because we can make the bronze anytime. But we'll probably pour a plaster of it when we get home. And that'll show a lot of the detail because the granite has so many different colors in it that you don't see all the detail.
Monique had never seen the statue before this operation that's attempting to preserve the work of her father, Korchak.
It's always nice to see one work of Dad's pieces because a lot of us kids weren't around when he was doing stuff like this.
A Mobridge man that helped bring Sitting Bull's remains to this site from North Dakota is happy to see the work.
Put this into a state of permanency that will probably last for far more years than the statue might last by itself out here on the prairie. It's something that will make people conscious of the fact of what we have here too.
It will take another several days to complete the mold. Dave Mossner, Kelloland News, Mobridge.
It's a rare tactic during the legislative session, but facing a 2/3 Republican majority and seemingly having no say about the proceedings, South Dakota Democrats took a walk.
The South Dakota Senate approved dedicating 56% of the state's sales tax to education, but Republicans shut off debate twice to force a vote when Democrats wanted more debate. On the next bill, the lottery proposal, the Democrats walked.
Apparently we're not going to be able to participate in that debate. So, Mr. President, until you act on these 2 measures, the Democrats are going to leave the hall.
With the chamber missing 15 senators, Republicans continued debate on the lottery for a few minutes, then voted for the Sergeant of Arms to bring the Democrats back.
The Sergeant of Arms will be instructed to secure the doors and require that the members of the Senate be escorted back into the Senate chamber.
The Democrats had locked themselves in room 430 behind the Senate gallery.
This
is Sergeant at Arms. A call of the house has been made.
We can't have any comment yet. We surrender, please. We surrender. I think it's a day that's going to live in infamy for the South Dakota State Senate, and it's a sad day.
The lottery debate is delayed until Monday, which needs at least some Democratic support to pass. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News at the Capitol.
In this story, you'll meet Cliff, who ran the cafe in South Dakota's Department of Transportation building. The cafe is his business and state workers his prime customers. Once every year, Cliff gave the cash register a day of rest as his way of saying thank you.
Most days, transportation workers pay when they eat at Cliff McCann's cafe, except before Thanksgiving when he turns the tables on his customers and says thank you.
I like the people work here in the DOT building, and you know, they've been nice to me all through the year, so I figured that Thanksgiving time comes, my time to show them appreciation.
McCann leases the space for his cafe from the state, and his giving thanks to the customers means extra work. He starts preparing for the feast a week ahead of time.
We're having turkey dressing and cranberries, candy jams, and cornmeal muffins, cupcakes, and pickles and olives. The works right down the line now.
Obviously, the loyalty for the customer works both ways.
Most every day I come for noon, and he always puts on a real great dinner.
Oh, it's great. I think Cliff does a good job.
McCann says he'll keep serving up the once-a-year free feast as a permanent Turkey Day tradition, but he says instead of turkey next year, state employees may get ham instead. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Pierre.
What's the guy behind the camera looking for in your photo session? Here's an answer from 1989's Photographer of the Year in South Dakota.
The life work for Scott Strzeski has always been in clear focus. His work on these 4 pictures earned him the title South Dakota Photographer of the Year. He says there's more to photography than asking for a pretty smile. The job means understanding what people want.
It's making people look better than they would in an ordinary everyday life, because they come dressed differently than they do usually walking down the street. And we do a lot of things with them as far as lighting. We do full makeup sessions with everyone that comes in. I don't look for the same thing every time. Every person, as far as portraiture work, when they come in, everyone's different. Everybody has a point of relating to you or you to them that's different from anyone else. I find that I draw my inspiration from the people that I work with and their personalities.
Strzeski enjoys having people shocked at how good they look when framed by his camera. He says the idea isn't to create a new person, but to put the subject in the best possible light. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Chamberlain.
New is news, which is why Botch Ball got our attention when the first state tournament was planned to determine the best lawn bowler in the state.
It's a simple game, really, with few rules and one main idea.
The object is to throw the small object ball out, and then each team in turn, in rotation, would throw one ball at the object ball. And again, you score it the same way you would horseshoes. The person that's closest to the object ball wins, and the opponent's ball cancels out any other scores after that.
Botch is popular on the East Coast, and the first state commissioner of Botch hopes it gets popular here. So far, 23 teams are playing the ancient game of lawn bowling that may take over as the kingpin of backyard lawn games.
I think it's an excellent game. It beats the heck out of lawn darts. It's a lot less dangerous. Can't poke your eye out with a botch ball.
Botch ball sets cost as little as $30 and can be more than $100 for the excellent sets. To play the freestyle version of the game without using conventional alleys, all you need is room.
Most people throw them with backspin on it so that when the ball hits, it stops. You can roll them up there, you can toss them with side spin on it. In this particular case, when you're playing freestyle, it's a lot like golf and croquet. You play the lay of the land.
The commissioner says anyone, any age can play. The first state tournament in modern times will decide the state's best botch team Saturday in Pierre. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND Sports.
If you're a big baseball fan, you've heard about fantasy camps. If you're lucky, you may have attended one. Here's a look at a dentist as he prepared to attend the first Minnesota Twins camp with a second story about his experience.
Playing his way into shape for his time at spring training, peer dentist Jim Zana is leaving his day job to play out a childhood dream at the Minnesota Twins Fantasy Camp.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be a little kid and wake up and the only thing I have to think about for a week is playing ball.
Zana's son Kedrick is helping him train for the camp where Twin legends Killebrew, Cott, and Oliva will be some of the instructors. It's the first Twins fantasy camp for adults over 30, but it's not a picnic. Zana says the Twins are prescribing exercises and want him able to run 2 miles in 12 minutes. The cost of the camp is $3,000. That includes airfare, food, lodging, and your very own Twins uniform.
I decided that it was cheaper than bypass surgery. It was maybe an easy way to lose some weight. You know, people pay a lot of money to lose some pounds, and this would be an incentive to get in shape. And not only that, I send my daughter to French camp and my son to Russian camp, and I figure it's my turn to go to camp now.
Zana says he's looking to have a lot of fun at the camp where he'll pitch and play third base. And if Frank Viola shows up as promised, he's hoping to get some help on learning a changeup to take home for softball season. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND Sports, here. There's more than memorabilia in the collection Jim Zana brought back from Orlando. He has Frank Viola's autograph for his daughter and Viola's advice on throwing a changeup, which Zana hopes to use during the softball season. From Tony Oliva, there's some batting instructions.
He says 3 things you got to do. He says, number 1, you got to watch at a ball. Number 2, you got to hit it hard. And number 3, you got to run like a deer. And then they asked him if there was anything else. He said, nope, that's all you got to do.
Another Twins legend figures in another Zana memory of the camp.
My uniform's got a tear in the knee that I got from diving after a Harmon Killebrew smash between short and third. Knocked that one down.
Zana says the fantasy camp was beyond his expectations and he lived baseball night and day during the camp. His team even beat the Twin pros. Another memory came from a reporter at the camp who thought Zana was Wade Boggs in a Twins uniform.
He asked me then if anybody else had ever confused me with Wade Boggs before, and I said, well, no, because usually I don't wear this baseball hat, and I don't look anything at all like him without the hat on.
Zana and another South Dakotan at the camp, Joe Schnell of Lake Preston, say it's hard to explain the camaraderie felt with the pros at the first Twins fantasy camp. One camper described it as the most fun he's had as an adult. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND Sports, Pierre.
A small diner in north-central South Dakota was so well known for its chili, it was asked to cater a meal for the Chicago Bears. While it's off the beaten path, Rick's Place was famous for its award-winning and inventive chili.
Rick's Cafe doesn't look like a chili spot, despite signs to the contrary, but the Mobridge Cafe is a chili hotspot. 2 men from self-proclaimed chili country say Rick's is good.
It's about the best that I've had. I've eaten this chili down in South Texas down there, and I like it better than where they really make chili, you know, really a chili country.
It's got a chili taste to it. Now, I don't know what he puts in there, but whatever he's putting in it, he should make a go on that chili there.
It's not just chili. Rick has walleye chili, buffalo, pheasant, beef, and pork, and another unusual twist.
Everybody in the past has thought of chili being made out of beef. Well, one of the favorites, that I've competed with in the past is my chicken chili.
Next month's World Cook-Off could mean a cool $25,000 for the right hot stuff. To get ready, Chrisman is cutting and dicing and making little changes that might make the difference.
The hidden flavor that I like to plant in my chili is the way it kind of sneaks up to you. You can take a couple bites, and after a while you might break a sweat.
Saying chili has earned its place in history, Chrisman is joining efforts to make it the national food. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Mobridge.
In rural communities, it's common for residents to depend on volunteers to respond when fire breaks out. Once a year, volunteer departments gather to learn the latest techniques and brush up on the basics, just in case.
They're called to a fire, whether it be in a residence or structure or what, and they come across this, they have some idea of what to look for and act accordingly.
South Dakota had only 3 bomb incidents last year, but firefighters from small and large communities are studying explosives just in case.
A good thing to know in case it would ever happen, that you know what to do and what not to do.
The annual fire school puts firefighters behind a desk in the morning, on the line in the afternoon, because firefighting isn't just house fires and grass fires anymore.
Firefighting has changed so much in the recent years due to technology. You know, everything is made better. We're using more chemicals in our everyday lives. Explosives are becoming commonplace.
One constant in firefighting is the fire truck, but learning the ins and outs of driving it is important before the fire siren ever goes off.
You want to know how to run these trucks. There's a lot of liability when you're in these fire trucks, and just know the basics and how to handle them. So it's not like driving everybody's personal everyday car.
With education in hand, the firefighters now hope they won't have to use what they've learned, but will be ready just in case. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Pierre.
People are competitive. That's the essence of what makes racing popular, even in small towns like the appropriately named Winner, South Dakota.
There aren't any turnstiles at the gate, but if there were, they'd be spinning at the Winter Speedway. Race fans revived racing here last year after a 15-year absence, rebuilding the track and refurbishing the stands. They're now drawing almost 3,000 people each race night.
A lot of volunteer effort from many people, many businesses. They all contributed. Everything we did was too small. That was our biggest problem we had. We always had crowds so far exceed our capacity to handle them.
The Winter Speedway races bombers, street stocks, and sportsman's models. The drivers say the track is pretty good and fills a racing void in the area. The closest track over 80 miles away.
I don't have to drive 100, 150 miles to race every weekend. I get home at a decent hour and go to work tomorrow.
It's a good deal for the community and everything, Heck, they get 2,000 to 2,500 people here about every week, It's a really good deal, and all the drivers really enjoy it.
And the fans say they like the entertainment.
I love it. I've never missed only about 2 since they've started, and I enjoy it.
For a community this size, I think that they've really put on an excellent show.
It may not be Indianapolis, but to Winter fans, it is racing country on Sunday nights. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND Sports at the Winter Speedway.
That's it. You've seen all of my South Dakota stories we're showing. For another look, visit my YouTube channel for more episodes of vintage video. Thanks for joining me. I'm David Mossner. See you next time.